It's time for Normalville, it's time for Normalville, it's time for Normalville. Gonna get a little crazy like you know we will.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Abnormal Hour. I am your host, Alex Rennie, with my partner,
Frank Hildebrandt.
and we are hopefully going to entertain you for the next, 20 minutes to an hour, whatever it is. We
If
call
we're
it the
on a
Abnormal
roll,
Hour, but
20 minutes to an hour, we're flexible.
we're flexible.
Yeah. If it's
Be
working,
shocked.
don't cut it down. Right. So,
Exactly. I'll be shocked if it actually goes an entire hour. But with that, the very first thing we start off with is a recap of last week's episode. So everyone, this was our whiteboard still from our last episode where we brainstormed the secret to Michael Jordan's success. I've been watching the Netflix Last Dance with the Chicago Bulls Michael Jordan documentary. That was the inspiration for this. And as most of you know, I'm originally from Chicago, born and raised there. And Michael Jordan was one of my heroes growing up. And this was what we came up with. Right, Frank?
yeah, that was, it was a painful process. That took us quite a while to get to this point. And that's creative, that happens. But then when we get on it, then we're on fire. Then we go, right?
Once we kind of had this, it flowed. But the point up to that was on the painful side for sure.
But, we never get writer's block. So.
So this was the original idea. And then here was the final result, which I got to say, I'm really proud of.
And let's, can you go back to the other one?
Sure.
And see how it says quilting, which is a funny word. And then we went with knitting so that we could have a nice quote there of knit one, purl two, which Alex has no idea what that means. But I do, because in grade 4, I had to knit a toque for school class. And so I know how to knit. But anyway.
But let's give credit where credit's due. That punchline, the thought balloon, that was from your wife.
Oh, yeah. She said, hey, you should change that quilting to knitting and go knit one, purl two. And I didn't even hesitate. It's like, boom, done. We're doing it. Yeah. Top notch. This is, I think it's outstanding. We put it in the gold category. We have gold, silver, bronze. And this is, I knew as soon as I saw, oh yeah, that's gold.
That's gold.
For sure.
That's awesome. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, now we come back to today's show. And we're back. Welcome back, everyone. This now leads us to our very next segment, which is the abnormal news.
Today's news story comes from Norway. I was wondering, just before today's show, how do Norwegians say Norway? Does it just come out Norway? Or do they have a Norwegian accent? Norway? Does it have 5 syllables, right? Somebody maybe can enlighten me on that. How do Norwegians say Norway? I'd like to know. And but today's segment comes from Norway, which they are going to build a ship tunnel. A tunnel for ships. Very cool. Because you have one body of water over there, and you have another body of water over there, and you have mountains in the middle. And those mountains are called stad. And the one body of water is called Muldefjorden, and the other body of water,
Muldefjorden.
Kidipulen. I'm sure that's how you say it. And because going around this body of land called Stad, I'm sure Stat must be Norwegian for mountain. Would have to be.
You know, all I can think of as you're starting to say the words and names of these things is I instantly thought of the Swedish chef from the Muppets.
I'm sure they're going to have, he's going to be there to do the ribbon cutting.
That's terrible.
That's
We
the
mean no
Swedish
offense.
chef. You can't have him doing a Norway opening when he's a Swedish chef. He'd probably get booed there because he's from Sweden. I said they don't like him. But anyway, this subterranean shortcut is going to be 1.7 kilometers long. And so you don't have to go around the dangerous waters, which they have shipwrecks and all kinds of sea monsters and everything. So you can't go that way because that's ugly. So 1.7 kilometers right under the mountain, and you can get from one side of the other, avoid the harsh waters and the treacherous Norwegian fjords. And it will be finished in 2023. So I wouldn't mind an invite to that opening.
That'd be pretty cool. It's interesting you say that it was cutting through a mountain, because when you first said a tunnel, I was like, how are they, gravity wouldn't allow for an underground tunnel. The water level's going to drop and then come back up. That's impossible, isn't it?
Well, if you have really good water flow, like then it's like a water slide, right?
It's like a water slide. You say, "Wah!"
For ocean liners, right?
Just launches the ocean liner right up and out. Now that would be something to see.
Oh, that would be something.
So thank you for saying it was cutting through a mountain, because I was now it makes sense. It's like, oh, why wouldn't they just put a canal? I don't get it. It's through a mountain.
Because it's a mountain.
Fantastic.
And there you have it.
Thank you for that. Also in the news, petition calls for statue of GWAR's Odorous Urungus to replace Robert E. Lee. You ever heard of GWAR? Do you know these guys?
Odor what? This a stinky one?
Odorous Urungus. So
okay, that right there sounds like you need medication for that.
What little I know of GWAR, and I did a little bit of homework after reading this article. A lot of my friends in college had told me about GWAR. They kind of, I don't want to say they were a Kiss knockoff. They weren't. They were death metal. But what they did, like what Kiss did, is they had makeup and costumes on stage. And they had elaborate, like, demon costumes, like all kinds of robots. And it was impressive in that way. And then they were interactive, like they'd saw through a bad guy and blood would shoot out of the audience members. Kind of like that guy with the watermelons. I can't think of him. You know what I'm talking about? The comedian. Name is slipping me. Anyways, and they're like, you got to see this show. It's great. And after reading this article, I went on YouTube. You can see these guys live. I'm glad I never went to a show. Just nothing about it appealed to me at all. But that being said,
and somebody's calling for a statue of these guys?
Well, we'll read it. A new petition is calling for a statue of the late GWAR frontman, real name David Brockie, to be erected in his adopted home state of Virginia. And it notes there's an opening in Richmond where the statue of Confederate General is scheduled for removal. So with the Black Lives Matter, they're taking down these Confederate statues, and there's a petition to put this guy up because he's a hometown hero. Although Brockie was born in Canada, his family moved to Virginia when he was a child. He's a co-founder of GWAR, a shock rock band known for its wild costumes and violent stage show, where copious amounts of fake blood and other fluids spew into an ecstatic audience. Brockie died of an accidental heroin overdose in 2014. Robert E. Lee is a failed war general that supported a racist cause, the petition stated. For too long, the city of Richmond has been displaying statues of him and other loser Civil War veterans. We, the scumdogs of the universe, call on the city of Richmond to erect a statue of great local leader Odorous Urungus in its place. And that is all for today's news break, which now brings us to expert advice from the expert.
Oh, I was looking at my list here. Where, what, where, what?
What? Oh, no.
And now we
What did I
have
forget?
expert advice from the experts.
And now, expert advice from the experts.
This week's expert, Alex Rennie. What do you have for us today, Alex?
As you can see, I have a prop behind me. So, Frank,
Which one? Is it the plant?
it is the surfboard behind
Okay, surfboard. Got it.
me. So, one thing that, and Frank doesn't know this, but a lot of, I would say, feedback we were getting from your expert advice last week is people were disappointed that you didn't actually build the bow and arrow on the set. They're like, it was wonderful to listen to, but we wanted to see the final result. That being said, I figured we needed to bring in some props.
Okay.
So, do you think you'd be able to make a bow and arrow for our audience for a future episode? Like, just have one, like, hey guys. No?
Yeah, I might get flashbacks, but from when I was like 9 years old. But
I'm saying, like, man, there were multiple people, like at least people whom I knew, who would watch the show and said, we wanted to see the bow and arrow. So,
sure.
yeah. All right, my man. Well, today's expert advice. So, for those of you who may or may not know, I just mentioned that I am from Chicago originally, but when I turned 30, I moved to San Diego, California. Actually, I was north of San Diego County, but Ocean Beach and then Encinitas area around there, Leucadia. But I lived there for 12 years, and I went there for the express purpose of following my childhood dream of surfing. When I turned 12 or 13, I had seen Ocean Pacific t-shirts, and being an artist, the graphics just blew me away. And I was like, oh my God, when I grow up, I'm going to move to California and I'm going to learn to surf. And on right before my 30th birthday, when I saw it creeping up, I had that aha moment. What was that sound, Frank?
Oh, ding.
Ding! I was like, if I don't do this now, I'm never going to do it. So moved to California, and the rest is history. But with that, I did become an expert surfer, not a professional level surfer, but an expert level surfer. Big difference. You can be an expert, but not be a pro, right?
Sorry to interrupt. What I might imagine is that expert is maybe you can go down to a shorter board, or is that anything to do with it?
So this board behind me is what's called a short board. It's 6 foot 2 inches tall. It's small. It's agile. Think like a sports car. Very first board I ever used was 8 feet tall, much wider, much thicker. It was like a big, slow family van versus,
Cool.
Yeah, and the guys who are the pros, they use boards shorter and smaller than this, which I never quite hit that level, but that just affords you maximum maneuverability and speed, right? So the expert advice I have is about how to fix your bottom turn or make it easier for you. So when you catch a wave, you're on your belly, and the wave starts to pull you up, and you jump on your feet, and then you do what's called a drop in into a bottom turn. So when you're surfing, a wave will it can close out, in which case you don't want to ride that. But if you want to ride, and you see the guys riding the wave, that wave is either rolling to the right as I'm looking at the camera, or it's rolling to the left as you're facing, or the water's to your back. So as a surfer, I got to go left or I got to go right before you take off. So the biggest thing, and I have a little my little model here. I call
action figure.
I call him Little Kelly after Kelly Slater, my favorite surfer. He was bald and kind of looks like him. But the mistake, or I will say not the mistake, but like 70% of all your wipeouts happen because as you're dropping in, they drop straight down. So what happens is you're coming at such a big angle that the nose will go under the water, which is called purling. And if you ever got your bike stuck in a grate or something, you stop immediately and it literally catapults you off your board and you're done. You never want to have that nose go under. And the other problem that happens if you go straight into a wave, if the wave is behind and it's pushing them, once you get there, you have to do what's called a bottom turn and turn to get back into the wave. And if you get pushed so far ahead, you've now lost the wave. It actually goes underneath you. So the trick is to kind of ride down that face and make the turn as fast as you can. So the expert advice I have for you is, before you do that takeoff, if you know you're going to be going left or you know you're going to be going right, just angle your board that way on your takeoff when you're still paddling to jump on. So once you jump on, if the wave is pulling you to the left and the board is already that way, you're already in the face of that wave versus just going straight ahead. I got to get it up to the camera. So you're one step ahead. If it's going to the right as you're getting ready to take off or jump on, you aim the board to the right, boom, and you're already one step ahead. And that will help you catch your waves much cleaner, much faster. And that is my expert advice.
Very cool.
With that, it now takes us to our very first cartoon of the day.
Okay.
Hey everybody, welcome to our very first cartoon, which is our whiteboard segment. We do some sketches right here as we brainstorm ideas. And from there, we come up with our final results, which, as you saw earlier in the show, is the Michael Jordan knitting. That came from this whiteboard segment, which is pretty cool.
That's right.
So, that being said, we actually had some ideas from our fans. Our fan being my dad.
Yeah, you're our number one fan, Alex.
Our number one fan, my dad.
Whether he likes it or not, we've made him head of the fan club.
Head of the fan club.
He has to answer all the mail.
And so the idea that he had, because he had seen our first show and he really did like it. He's like, I already have an idea for you. I don't know if you remember, this happened probably 30 or so years ago. There was a guy in the States who had taken a bunch of weather balloons and he tied them to a lawn chair. And they've used that in movies as a joke. And so he was up there and he was on his lawn chair tied to balloons, and he ended up going 10,000 feet up in the sky. I mean, to clouds, to the point where there were actual airplanes that had seen him up in the sky. And they were reporting to, they had multiple reports, and each pilot that had seen this guy just lounging up in the sky had said, what is that, like air traffic control, we have an issue here, and I don't want you to think I'm crazy, but there's a guy on a lawn chair, floating with balloons. And then at some point when he hit 10,000 feet, he got cold. He had brought a BB gun and he shot out the balloons with a BB gun, and that gently brought him back down to earth. So that was my dad's idea.
And so if we had a current balloon guy, the airlines of all in the past month ago or whatever, they're almost all shutting down. So to get where he wanted to go, he would just make his lawn chair with balloons and a cordless leaf blower.
What if there was, like, because of the COVID thing and no flying, there was a bunch of lawn chair guys? Like, the skies are being littered with lawn chair guys.
That's right. It's now become so frequent.
they would have to reach up with their leaf blower, and it would shoot them in the direction.
No, the leaf blower would be pushing air from behind him to propel him forward.
Oh, I thought he'd be doing it himself, just to like aim this way, aim that way. You're saying,
Yeah, it'd be
how
firing
would he
out
do
from
that?
behind him.
How would he connect that leaf blower?
No, it's not blowing out the balloons. It's just blowing straight behind. I don't.
That's crazy.
You're not grasping this concept, Alex.
I am.
No, if you do that, it just pushes them to the ground. No, he's got the leaf blower, and it's shooting air out behind him, and it will propel him forward.
Right there.
Well, that's
leaf
shooting
blower.
air at his back. Shoot
So
the air the other way. That way.
You're not grasping this concept, Alex. I obviously was not.
Yeah,
That is pretty
if we had an invention company, this would be like, I quit.
God bless it, man.
There. Now
Very
we
good.
got it. Okay.
There. Oh my God.
Now, so we have.
This is painful, man.
It is painful.
We've never had this much confusion on a cartoon before. This is a first. Only an episode.
It was
two.
close to name calling. It was.
Dunkov.
Yeah, those are the best. Germans had the best name calling names ever. So scrap all this, and we're going to put them in a rickshaw, where you can carry two people in the back of a rickshaw, a bunch of balloons, and at the back of the rickshaw, he's got the leaf blower, and it's his sightseeing tours.
Is a rickshaw what they do in Japan or China? Is that what?
And yeah, where one guy lifts the two arms and he runs.
So how would that be with the balloons? Would the leaf blower be where the guy is? So it'd be like a reverse rickshaw?
No, the first you draw the rickshaw, and then the balloons would be attached to the sides and roof, and the leaf blower is attached to the very back of the rickshaw. I picture him as hanging on the arms of the rickshaw and his feet dangling down below and moving backwards because of the forward momentum, right?
I think he'd want to sit down. I mean, it would be funny if his feet were dangling.
Yeah. So that's what we do is funny. There we go. So get rid of the other legs, right? And yeah. So his feet are dangling and they're just flopping in the backwards.
Yeah.
Air rickshaw and Chinese takeout.
Next section in our show, which is our sponsors. Take it away, Frank.
So today's sponsor, I will just describe it. Here we go. Do you come from old country? Do you find babushkas attractive? Has it been a while since you had a fashion compliment? Most likely, you suffer from sandal sock syndrome. You just can't bear to have those legs bare. On a nice summer sandal day, we have the answer for you. Fleshhosen. That's right, Fleshhosen. Socks that match your skin tone. Just go to your local paint store, pick out a sample to match your skin color, and we will match it up. For an extra $10, send us a pic of your leg, and we'll even match the quantity of hair. Fleshhosen, so you can still stride in confidence.
That's just gross. There we have it, the Fleshhosen.
If you search the amount of pictures on the internet of men wearing socks and sandals, those are all our customers.
There you go.
See?
I will say I used to be guilty of that.
Well.
Socks and sandals back in the day. Because it was kind of a big trend, like in the 2000s, early 2000s.
I don't
know. That and parachute pants, they never went away.
I mean, probably in Chicago it was, but.
Oh, that's funny. With that, thank you, Fleshhosen, for your sponsorship today. And they are the official sponsor of our next joke, which is the joke of the day.
Okay, today's joke of the day. Alex, what do you have for us today?
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Control freak.
Control freak.
Now you say, control freak who? That's the joke of the day.
And that's the joke of the day. That'll do. Okay, here we are back at the whiteboard. Now, what is our second idea?
Another idea that was from my cousin and his fiance, my cousin Lee and his fiance Helena. I was on a Zoom call with my cousins, and they were talking about how we can't get haircuts, right? Because that's one of the most dangerous non-social distancing things you can do. And so no haircuts. And they were mentioning about, or he jokingly said, what about the Flowbee? And you didn't know what a Flowbee was when I originally said this.
No, I bet I hadn't heard the brand name. I bet you that's American brand name. That
they were these, they were actually these vacuums that would pull your hair up, and then it had a blade. So it was literally a vacuum.
Right. With a spinning blade.
With a razor on it, and it would chop your hair.
Like, that's a good idea. Okay.
And these were late night infomercials for the Flowbee. It was not something that I think ever made it big. But if you were ever up late at night in those crazy inventions and useless contraptions, the Flowbee was one of them.
If there was accidents, so you have the hospital full of people in the waiting room being cut by their Flowbees that they just brought out of the closet.
There's a ton of Flowbee videos, Flowbee disaster, Flowbee gone wild.
Nice.
Yeah, apparently that is a big thing. I like what you just said though. Like, yeah, so there's the Flowbee. Let me take a screenshot of that. We'll clear it.
So yeah,
But
and
now due to COVID,
we have a hospital waiting room.
Yeah. I think we did it, man. The amount of floaty disasters has spiked. Something to that effect, right? There's a
Right.
receptionist over here in the waiting room, doctor's office.
And
It's gotta look like a hospital, that's all. I think there's even a guy over here who has a Floby stuck to his head, right? And he's just like, he can't even get it off. It's like one of those where he's just like,
yeah.
he's unhappy. No. It's got to have electric cord.
That cord hanging, that's the best part of the whole thing.
It's just like,
Cord hanging.
yeah, I really like it. I think this is a win. This is because we try to keep with the times, right?
Yeah.
So if we do the another COVID-19, I think this is perfect.
There we go. This can be released too.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we have a winner, man.
Yes.
So thank you, Lee Giesbrecht and Helena. I'm sorry, Helena, I'm missing out on forgetting your last name. But thank you guys so much for this idea, because this is going to be there, and we'll give credit next week for the
We will.
final one.
Yeah, this would be a gooder. That's good.
Yeah, I really like it. I do. Fantastic.
There, that wasn't so painful.
That wasn't so painful like the last one. Alex, it's facing away from them. Come on, man.
Yeah. Getting pretty close to name calling there.
We are back.
We're back. Okay. What is next on our agenda?
That would be story time with Keanu Reeves.
And now, boys and girls, it's story time with Keanu Reeves.
And now we're going to have our story time with Keanu Reeves. Keanu, what
Hello,
are you going to read today?
Hi, I'm Keanu Reeves. You may know me from such movies as Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, which is going to have a really good sequel coming up soon. I also starred in Point Break, as well as The Matrix. Today we are going to read Humpty Dumpty.
I like Humpty Dumpty.
Okay, we are now going to read Humpty Dumpty. Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. All the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty together again.
That story makes me sad.
I'm sorry, Frank. You know, I don't know too many nursery rhymes that weren't just riddled with death and sadness and the like.
Is that why you make violent movies?
Good question. No, I do violent movies because my agent thinks, it's a good idea to do so.
Oh, that doesn't set a very good example.
Well, kid, I'm not here to set a good example. I'm here to make money. It's called a job. Something you'll understand when you get older.
Yeah, my dad likes to make money. I don't know. Maybe I should make money someday too. You think I should do violent movies?
Do you like violent movies?
I think they're mean, but I want to make money.
Then you probably shouldn't do violent movies.
Okay, I'll think of something else.
Can I go now?
All right. I'll see you later.
That's it for story time with Keanu Reeves. Thank you, Keanu, for that wonderful story time, as always.
Riveting. That was
riveting. I mean,
just
we are
riveting.
lucky to have him and his caliber of celebrity.
Yeah.
Doing
No
our
one
show.
can do it like him. That's for sure.
No one does it quite like him.
Nobody wants to do it like him.
That's the key right there. Nobody wants to do it quite like Keanu does on our show.
There we go.
And this now takes us to the next segment, Did You Know by Frank Hildebrandt.
know? Did you know? Did you know? Did you know? Did you know?
So today's Did You Know? Did you know about the Northern Lights? So scientifically named Aurora Borealis,
Yes.
Northern Lights given that name by Galileo, who incidentally was made famous by Queen. Galileo, Galileo, Galileo saw the Northern Lights. That's how the original lyrics went, and then they edited it and made it into a hit song. But so the Aurora Borealis happens when a solar wind comes from the sun. How does a solar wind happen? It's when the sun kind of sneezes. And here it comes towards Earth.
You're saying the Aurora Borealis is nature's mucus or the sun's mucus?
It's the sun's snot, yes.
Wow.
That's right. But beautiful things can come from non-beautiful things. Hence, the Aurora Borealis. So this, when it hits the Earth's magnetosphere, that's our magnetic field that goes around the planet, it excites the electrons and protons. They get excited. Arriba, arriba, and they have a big party. And so when they're excited, they come lower down into the atmosphere. So that action creates the lights that you see. Now that's a long scientific process. We don't have time. So, did you know that the different colors are related to the altitude of the solar wind, the Aurora Borealis? So red is the highest up for altitude, and then green below that, and blue below that.
Oh.
Those are the three main colors. Just so happens those are the three colors you would know that we make up all our other colors from.
Yep.
Very cool. It's a very cool part of Did You Know? And the second part of Did You Know that they also happen in the south, the Southern Lights. So you can see them from southern part of Australia and such, and they are called Aurora Australis.
Very
The Southern Lights.
I actually did know that one. Interesting. So as we're saying this, we have one more visitor. She says, "Oh, the baby! This is my baby dog.
The baby dog.
Little baby. This is baby Callie. She's got her diaper
Callie.
on because she's in heat. The little baby girl. But she came in right at the end of the show to say hi to Daddy. She's been outside this whole time.
And get her to wave goodbye.
Bye, everybody. My name is Callie. I'm a good girl, and I'm saying good.
What kind of voice is that? Yeah.
That's my baby girl.
So we're almost at the end of our show, and this is where we do a shout out to if you have any suggestions, you can give us cartoon ideas. Even if you want to record that idea, and we can play the little video as well. If so, when you speak, there's a lot more words that happen than when you type, right? So if you're prone to that, then very cool. Also, if you have any interesting videos of your crazy talents or crazy things your pets do or anything unique that we might get a chuckle, and if we chuckle, others laugh, right? So anything that can make you smile, chuckle, laugh, we would love it.
But thank you guys once again, and thank you, Frank, for co-hosting another fabulous show with me and brainstorming yet again.
Thank you, Alex. We wouldn't do this if we weren't both doing this. So
yeah, this is it's a great partnership. I honor and love working with Frank, and this is cool.
Yeah, likewise.
All right, my friends, sayonara.
now we're leaving. We gotta go. And now we're leaving. It's the end of our show. We had a good time. It's come to an end. We hope you had a good time. A good time, my friend. And now we're leaving. That's the end of our show. And now we're leaving. We gotta go.